Hello everyone, thanks for joining. I'm Bharti Soni. I have 9+ years of experience in storage domain. I'm working as a lead developer in IBM ISDL lab. I have worked on several protocol development like iSCSI host attach, ISER, iSCSI backend and replication over IP network. Today I will be presenting with Subhajit Rai. He's a storage development architect and SDSM in IBM ISDL. His focus area is block storage and he has more than 20 years of industry experience. He has architected several key features like iSCSI, ISER, IP replication, FCOE. He has more than 70 patents in storage and systems domain. We will be talking about our first-hand experience in storage world with Ethernet interoperability issues. So let's get started. In this session, we will talk about how Ethernet has evolved, and it is the fastest evolving interconnect with numerous protocols, standards and specification, which is evolving every day with a huge number of deployment options available. We will share some of the Ethernet interoperability issues that arise due to various standards and their various aspects of implementing and deploying. We will share protocol interoperability issues, host interoperability issues, hardware and network interoperability issues. We will also talk about the practical considerations one has to keep in mind while deploying Ethernet storage solutions to avoid the interoperability issues. You can post your questions in the chat box. We will be happy to answer that. During the last few years, Ethernet as a storage interconnect has become one of the most active and fastest growing interconnect and driving a lot of technical innovations in this space. Ethernet standard is defined by IEEE 802.3 standard. There are a lot of innovations happening in this space which provides various options for deployment like different protocols, standards, specifications. If we take Ethernet speed, for example, it has gone from 1G to 10G to 25 to 50 to 100 and even 200 in a very short span of time. To support these speeds, we have switch fabric with corresponding Ethernet speeds. Along with the switch fabric, we have different types of transceivers starting from RJ45 to SFP, SFP plus, SFP plus RJ45, QSFP, QSFP plus, SFP28, SFP56, QSFP28, QSFP56. Also, we have various options for cables starting from copper DAC cable, fiber optical cable and DAC splitter cables. As the Ethernet infrastructure is evolving, there are a lot of innovation happening in high-speed Ethernet storage protocols like NVMe TCP, NVMe RDMA, ISER, and the list goes on. While we have new high-speed storage protocol in place, traditional storage protocols like iSCSI are also widely deployed protocol. RDMA based protocols can also be implemented either over iWarp, which works on top of TCP IP, or over RoCE, which is a UDP based protocol. Also, these Ethernet based protocol can be implemented in software or they can be offloaded to hardware to implement it. Not only that, There are also a lot of vendors providing these infrastructure, making deployment metrics multifold. For example, host operating system, we can have RHEL, VMware, Windows, AIX operating system. Adapters can be from Mellanox, Chelsea, Marvell, Broadcom. Switches can be from Cisco, Brocade, Arista, Juniper, or Mellanox. Also, storage virtualization appliance can be from IBM, NetApp, Pure Storage, Dell, or EMC. They all have different ways of implementing and configuring these protocols and standards, which makes it very difficult to design and implement a solution which works for the most of the operating systems and most of the endpoints. Now, this slide shows typical Ethernet connectivity in storage world. We have host operating system from different vendors like VMware, RHEL, and this host operating system version is changing almost every year. Also, storage controller version is also changing almost every year. And with the rapid development in Ethernet protocol domain, adapter vendor is also coming up with new driver version almost every year. The number of elements in the Ethernet interconnect which are changing are much more than the FC interconnect. Hence, it requires a huge amount of interoperability testing while developing a storage product. Whenever there is a change in any element, thorough testing is required. If a host operating system is changed, that new host operating system must be tested. But if a storage controller version is changed, all host operating system must be tested again. Hence, the testing metrics for Ethernet interconnect is much more than the FC interconnect. Now this slide shows various standards and specification. Ethernet was defined by IEEE 802.3 standard, and various standards related to VLAN and PFC was defined as part of IEEE 802.1q standard. FEC was defined under RFC 6363. IWOP standard, IWOP is a standard for RDMA over TCP defined by IETF, and ROCE stands for RDMA over Ethernet defined by IBTA. The SFP transceivers is not standardized but is specified by a multi-source agreement among multiple competing manufacturers. As we have already discussed, there are a lot of innovations happening in high-speed storage protocol area. RDMA-based protocols like ISER and NVMe RDMA are getting more and more popular. Adoption of RDMA-based protocols like ISER and NVMe RDMA are increasing day by day. RDMA-based protocols can be implemented over native InfiniBand, IWOP, or ROCE. IWOP is an Internet Wide Area RDMA protocol. It's based on TCP/IP protocol, and ROCE stands for RDMA over Converged Ethernet protocol. It's based on the UDP protocol. These transport doesn't interrupt with each other. Meaning is that if a host application have adapter which supports only ROCE and storage application which have adapter that supports IWOP only, they cannot communicate over RDMA. Similarly, if a host is running IWOP and the storage application is running ROCE, they cannot communicate to each other. Both host and storage application must support same type of RDMA protocol. For example, if the host is running IWOP and storage is running IWOP, they both can communicate with each other. Similarly, if both host and storage application supports ROCE, then also they both can communicate with each other. But also within the same protocol, if the vendor differs, then also we have a problem. For example, in our test, we found that IWOP over Chelsea adapter and IWOP over a KVM adapter doesn't interop that well. So they have issues. So if we are testing same protocol with different vendors, you have to do a comprehensive test to qualify them. Rocky also comes in two versions, V1 and V2, and they both can interop with each other. Now, if you want to choose one RDMA protocol to implement, which one will you choose, Rocky or IWOP? It's not very easy question to answer. It also depends on which host vendor you want to support. For example, if you talk about VMware, VMware only supports Rocky. And if your data center has VMware, then you must support Rocky. And if we talk about Microsoft, it only supports IWOP. So if you want to support Microsoft as a other communicating device, then you must support IWOP. Red Hat and CentOS, they support both Rocky and IWOP, which is a very relief. Another issue with Ethernet storage network is asymmetric network. Let's say the storage controller you have has a 25 gig adapter card. Because it has a 25 gig port, it supports SFP28 and SFP plus. But the switches are still 10 gig Cisco SFP switches. Well, this type of configuration is mostly used to support replication use case, where you have 25 gig connectivity for host attached traffic, but replication traffic is connected to 10 gig network. As replication traffic requires less bandwidth and deploying it on 10 gig network will save a lot of money. Now to connect to your storage 25 gig port to 10 gig switch port, you can either use 10 gig copper DAC cable or SFP plus at storage endpoint, SFP plus at switch endpoint, and which can be connected through fiber optical cable. Or you can use SFP plus at SFP28 at storage controller endpoint and SFP plus at switch endpoint, and they can be connected through fiber optical cable. Which of these combinations will work? Well, SFP plus at both end will work for sure, but other combination may differ from vendor to vendor, and it should be qualified against the different vendors. For example, with switch vendor X and adapter vendor Y, SFP vendor Z, this combination may work for but with different combinations of vendor, it may not work. We have tried SFP28 and SFP plus combination in our lab, and it was not working for us. Now, what if you have a Cisco RJ45 switch and you want to connect your storage 10 gig ports to it? Well, using a RJ45 switch will save a lot of money, and hence it is very common in small and medium businesses. Now, if you want to connect your 10 gig or even 25 gig ports to a RJ45 port, then you can do that using a special SFP called SFP plus RJ45, and then you can use a CAT cable to connect to a 10 gig as RJ45 switch. But this usually works, but you need to qualify it, the switch vendors and the SFP vendors, before you put it in your supported configurations. Now let me hand over the session to Subhojit. He will take you through other interoperability issues that we have faced, and then at the end he will conclude the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharti, for all the information shared so far. So, continuing with more use cases that can cause interoperability issues for Ethernet connectivity, let's take a look at something called forward error correction or FEC. What we see in this slide on the top is a 10 GB switch being connected via optical transceivers to the 25 GB ports of a storage controller. Now, forward error correction is a technique used to encode extra information into the transmitted data by the sender for error detection or correction at the receiver. This is especially important for high-speed networks where the bit error rate could be relatively higher. Hence, the 25 gig Ethernet standard has come up with FEC standards for interoperability between the various elements of the network. There are three possible FEC settings on switch ports and HBA ports, and they are RS, which stands for Reed Solomon, base R, which is the same as FC FEC, and no FEC. For lower speed networks like 10 gig networks, the default setting is no FEC. So for the link to come up and work, both ends must be able to either auto-negotiate matching FEC, or it must be set to the appropriate value on either end manually so that they match. In this use case, a 10 gig switch is connected to a 25 gig storage controller port. By default, the 10 gig switch setting for FEC would be no FEC, while the default switch setting on the storage controller is likely to be Reed Solomon FEC or RS FEC. This would cause a FEC mismatch and therefore an interoperability issue. This configuration can be made to work if the storage controller is able to auto-negotiate with the switch and run the 25 gig network with no FEC setting. This is usually possible by means of controller firmware, and most controllers will have this capability, but there is a possibility that some controllers may not have this capability, and hence the link may not come up and work with a mismatched switch. Let's have a look at a different case of FEC mismatch here. In the previous slide, what we saw is that the port speeds are mismatched. But in this case, we see a scenario where there is a 25 gig switch port that is being connected to a 25 gig storage controller port, but there is still a FEC mismatch. And why is this so? It's so because the switch is capable only of supporting the BR FEC standard, whereas the storage controller is only capable of supporting RS FEC standard. Now, some switches may support only specific types of FEC, and hence it is best if the storage controller is able to auto-negotiate the FEC settings with the switch side. We had a customer scenario where a Juniper switch port and a flash system 25 gig port were incompatible. The fix was to add a auto negotiation capability to the flash system controller port, after which the issue got resolved. In case of similar issues seen on the host, especially a Linux host, one could use the htool command to set or change the FEC settings on a Ethernet port. Some storage controllers may also allow this capability. So there is a means to essentially set what or match the FEC settings on both sides. But it's needless to say that whenever there is a FEC mismatch, there is a possibility that the link won't come up because of the mismatch of these settings. Hence this needs to be kept in mind. Let's look at another space where Ethernet has multiple standards that can cause interoperability issues. It's the new set of high-speed signaling standards that are in place and still evolving. The most popular 100 gig Ethernet standard uses 4 lanes of 25 gig for a 100 gig bandwidth. Here a 100 gig port with a QSFP28 transceiver splits into 4 lanes and connects to 4 25 GB ports with SFP28 transceivers. The signal encoding technology used here is NRZ. NRZ stands for non-return to zero, where there are two voltage levels to represent the bits 0 and 1, as you can see on the right side, denoted as PAM2 NRZ. But due to the persistent demand for higher and higher bandwidths, there is a new Ethernet standard that has come up in parallel, which supports 200 gig Ethernet ports by using 4 lanes of 50 GB to achieve 200 gigabit bandwidth. Here, a 200 gig port with a QSFP56 transceiver splits into 4 lanes and connects to 4 50 GB ports with SFP56 transceivers. This technology uses PAM4 encoding, where each voltage level represents 2 bits, as you can see on the right side, denoted as PAM4. This technology is capable of transmitting higher speeds and hence has been adopted to scale to 400 gigabit Ethernet. The issue here is that these two types of signal encoding are not compatible with each other. Hence, one cannot connect a PAM4 port to a NRZ port. Though there are converters that are available to convert between these technologies, these are non-standard and may not be ideal for use. Hence, while designing networks, it is important to keep network scalability in mind, especially for expensive equipment like 100 or 200 gig. And in this diagram, what you see here is that a QSFP56 cannot be connected to a QSFP28, or a SFP56 cannot be connected to a SFP28 directly. So essentially, these are two different standards that don't match with each other. So one other point to note is that IPv4 does not interoperate with IPv6. These are two entirely different protocols, and hence one cannot configure mismatched IP types on the storage controller and the host. So therefore, one can either create a completely IPv4 network or a completely IPv6 network, but not mix these two types of addresses. Most storage controllers like flash systems, IBM flash systems, will allow Ethernet ports to be configured with both IPv4 and IPv6. This allows the administrator to connect both hosts configured with IPv4 and IPv6 to the same storage controller over the same network, that is switching equipment. Switches don't distinguish between these two types of layer 4 technologies, and hence the same network can carry both IPv4 and IPv6 traffic. So effectively, one cannot have mismatched networks, but storage controllers make it possible for hosts which are configured with IPv6 and hosts that are configured with IPv4 to simultaneously connect to the same controller for storage I/O. So let's have a look at the ability to implement flow control and QoS techniques on Ethernet switching, which was earlier the premise only for fiber channel switches. So priority flow control and enhanced transmission selection, which are essentially described by IEEE 802.1 QBB and IEEE 802.1 QAZ, are the prevalent flow control and QoS technologies available on Ethernet switching technology for high-end Ethernet switching equipment pretty much across the board. And some of these vendors are like Cisco, Arista, Juniper, Brocade, and Mellanox. So while these technologies are extremely important to handle network congestion and traffic shaping on Ethernet fabrics, and it is available on Ethernet networks, which is a good news, one of the challenges with configuring these technologies is the diversity of Ethernet switches in the market. and the widely differing manner in which PFC and ETS can be configured on these switches. This makes it very complex to support PFC and ETS on a storage controller as well, because the feature must then be tested with every type of switching equipment available from multiple vendors. And to make things more complex, a new standard called RoCE, which stands for RDMA over Converged Ethernet, it is still coming up with new flow control and QoS techniques, making the understanding of this space more complex than what it should be. So while one could say that while Ethernet technology has evolved to the point where it can challenge fiber channel technology in terms of sophisticated flow control and QoS techniques available on the switching network, it is difficult to configure and interoperate with. So we hope that our presentation will help raise awareness about the various possibilities in the diverse world of Ethernet and planning data centers, and hopefully help to troubleshoot some of these issues. It would be great if you could take a moment to rate this session. We consider your feedback as a gift. Thank you for joining.